Good morning. I wanted to go into some specific lessons this morning. I meditated last night, and it gave me the idea of going into a little more specifically on meditation. Now, I have a video that goes over that a little bit. It's called the 888 meditation exercise. And that one I explain and incorporate breathing rhythmic breathing with the exercise. And I also, at the end, go into the Golden Dawn exercise where you form an orange ball in your mind and then take the ball and roll it in your hands, like a ball of dough, Play-Doh or something like that. And those are good techniques. But what I'm going to share with you today, this morning, is going to be a little bit more of what I did at first, when I first started treading back on the path and getting my memories back. And I was using this actually to gain access to more memories. There are several different gifts as it pertains to clairvoyance, psychic ability. I explained that some people hear, some people see, some people feel, sense, smell. And they all have different names, right? I see myself more as a seer, right? My gift more is being able to see into the astral. I get a lot of messages in dreams. And I also have like prophetic ability. Get downloads that way from, I like to say, from God. That's where I'm trying to receive all my messages from. It's from the Lord. And I have other ones. I've smelt things before, you know. You can definitely smell a spirit on somebody. A bad spirit to me smells like sewage. Okay? I could smell negative spirits on objects. Especially during the time of my awakening, quote unquote. There would be objects that I would have had received from the dark practitioners in my life, right? The people that were not wishing good intentions on me, who knew of my place, my role, and they would give gifts. And one of the ways that I would know that it was a bad gift, I could smell it. Literally. That with, your intuition, right? Being able just to discern. We do have to understand that not everything you smell is a psychic phenomenon. I have to stress that. A lot of people will, convince you to just dive right on in. And there is a factor where you do need to dive in, but you also have to keep your wits about you. It's a balance. Okay? All right, but in the meditating, similar posture. You want to sit in a chair. You could sit on the floor, I guess. You can cross your legs, crisscross applesauce. Or 10 toes down. You can do it laying down. There are cons to laying down. You don't want to fall asleep. It's easy to fall asleep if you're laying down and doing it, but I've meditated and had vision in bed before going to sleep. It is possible. I've read that it's something that you get better at the older you get. The pineal gland. It's this thing like right around in here. They say in between the eyebrows, maybe a little bit above it. The third eye. The older we get, the more sensitive it becomes. Like I guess kind of almost like going back to when we were kids. When you're a kid, you know, your imagination is so powerful. But anyway, so when you were trying to activate the pineal gland, the third eye, you'll need to meditate. Close your eyes, breathe. And the biggest thing, especially for me, is to quiet your mind. No thoughts. None. It's not as easy as it sounds. Some people are like, oh, well, that's easy. I mean, no thoughts. No thinking about a really cool idea. I know one thing that would happen with me is I would meditate and I would start to quiet the mind. And then all of a sudden I would have a thought, an inspirational thought. And I would think about that, and then that broke the meditation. Or I would think of a song. I've already described earlier, part of the program and part of the programs I went through as a kid and growing up in the families I did. We will hear pop music constantly in the mind. That's on purpose. You have to learn to turn it off and keep it off. How long can you keep it off? And be honest with yourself. Quiet the mind, quiet the music. One practice, one thing that helps me is to listen to the room. Can you hear the whirring of the air? Maybe a little bit of pitter-patter. The settlement of the structure as the wind blows. Little things like that. You can focus your mind on that, and that'll help you turn off the noise. Sometimes it will take 30 minutes or more of sitting there in complete stillness and silence before you start to get any spark. Some might ask, well, how do I know? How do I know I'm making progress? How will I know I'm getting in there? You'll feel it. A vibrational sensation. Sometimes you'll feel it on the top of the head. Sometimes you'll feel it right there. Sometimes you'll feel it on the face and the chest. You'll hear the heartbeat. That's how you know you're starting to get in. But don't think about it. That'd be another thing. As soon as you make the progress, your mind wants to start to think about what's happening. Is this it? Am I getting in? Oh, you're losing focus. You start to feel it. When you start to feel it, and I know this is going to sound almost a contradiction to what I said, but can you focus it to keep it there? The vibration. All this stuff I'm talking to you, I'm referring to literature and books that I've read that cover the topic. Let's go in a little bit more. I've discussed the idea of remote viewing, a thing that a term coined by the CIA. When you look in and see into the astral plane and look for objects, people, things far away. You have to understand, in the astral plane, time and space is not relative. You could see things miles and miles and miles away on the other side of the earth. You could see things behind objects, hidden inside of things. When remote viewing, seeing, it takes it a step further. The goal is to get your mind's eye into the astral plane while you're still conscious, not asleep. So you meditate, right? We get to that first stage. You're sitting in the silence. You're starting to feel the vibrations. Then, in your focus, in the stillness, you might start to see little sparks, I like to call them, flickers of light. Sometimes they're different colors. When I first started out, a lot of times they were bluish and orange. Now they're more like white, the color I see. Shapes, silhouettes, they'll come in and out, fading in and out. Hey, buddy.
Hold your hand.
All right, we'll have to continue this later.